So, how does Top Boy compare to his competition? The way I see it is, Top Boy's competition in terms of the shows that are somewhat similar to Top Boy are Power, Snowfall, and I guess you could also say the Power sequels and prequels like Power Book 2, Power Book 3, but I'm not going to talk about those as much. I'm mainly going to be comparing it and talking about Top Boy, Power, and Snowfall. So, in terms of how Top Boy compares to Power, there are quite a few similarities. For example, even if you look at the characters, I've said this before, Dushane and Ghost are somewhat similar. I've said this in previous videos. They're both very calculated, both think outside the box, both very strategic, both quite rational. Yeah, sometimes they let their emotions get to them and whatnot, but for the most part, both characters are very, very logical and rational. And they think first before they make the serious moves. And that's because they have control of their emotions and they're quite calm and rational. That's one of the main reasons why they make a lot of good decisions, why they're at the top, why they're both the top, why Dushane's the top boy and why Ghost, he's at the top of the game. It's because they think logically and rationally, and they're very, very strategic. They think outside the box, they're smart, etc. Those are just some of the good traits that both Dushane and Ghost possess. And both their right-hand men, or Ghost's best friend Tommy, is somewhat similar to his best friend is somewhat similar to Sully. There are some similarities between Sully and Tommy. They're both quite emotional characters. When I say emotional, I mean like not like crying and stuff like that, not that kind of emotion. I mean like they both get angry a lot. You both see them letting their rage get to them, etc. and making decisions based off anger rather than taking a minute to actually think about what they're doing first. That's what each of them like that's what they tend to do, and we've seen that in several points throughout both shows. So it's the you could say it's the yin and the yang for both Dushane and Tommy, and I mean for Dushane and Sully and Ghost and Tommy. And in terms of the storylines though, that's where both shows are a bit different. Top Boy is more gritty than Power, I would say. You see the street side of Top Boy a lot more. Like you see the in America you'd call it corner boys, but in UK I guess the equivalent is just the roadman, I guess. So you see a lot more of the roadmen in Power. In Top Boy, you see the roadmen shotting on the streets, selling different drugs, etc. Whereas you don't really see that side of Power. In Power, you just see the people at the top, the Ghosts and the Tommies, and people close to them at the top. In season 1, you saw Julio. In the later seasons, you saw guys like 2-Bit, but you didn't really see the street side of Power as much as you saw the street side of Top Boy. So that's why I say Top Boy is more gritty. But overall, in terms of which show has the better storylines, that one's close. Because Power does have some really good storylines as well. We saw in Power, a common trend is that the loyal characters tend to die first. Julio dies in season 4. Roller, who was one of Ghost's soldiers, who was extremely loyal to Ghost, he died very early on in season 1. And we saw how the story progressed. Kaden gets out of prison. That storyline is interesting. He tries to set up this clandestine plan to kill Ghost without Ghost knowing, but Ghost finds out. So Power has some really good storylines as well, but Top Boy storylines, it focuses a lot more on the kids that are shotting for Dushane and Sully, especially in season 1. We saw a lot of Renell, who wasn't actually shotting for Dushane, but he had his own like weed farm where he was trying to sell it to Dushane, but he ends up getting robbed, and the guy that's looking after him ends up getting caught on a crossfire, and he ends up getting shot. So it focused, and we see Renell's friend Jem that still ends up getting killed, and Dushane does have problems with his connect, and he ends up killing the connect, just like in Power, how Ghost and Tommy ended up taking out Lobos. So there are some common themes there. Both the Dushane and Ghost in both the shows end up taking out the plug. In Top Boy, it was Bobby Rakes, and in Power, it was Lobos, and later on Milan. So those are just some common themes. But like I said, Top Boy focuses more on the people on the streets that are selling, like the kids that shop for Dushane and Sully, but also Renell and Jem as well. So it adds a little bit of different flavor to what you get in Top Boy. So both shows has their differences, but both shows do also have their similarities. In terms of what show I personally prefer, I think it's close. It's a tough one, but I'll probably just about edge with Power, mainly because I think Top Boy got gradually worse, especially in season 3. Season 3 and season 4 are significantly worse than seasons 1 and 2. Seasons 1 and 2 are phenomenal, really, really good, brilliant writing, brilliant creative plots, but season 3 and 4 were worse. The acting got worse in season 3 and 4, but just the storylines just weren't as good, in my opinion. So yeah, I don't really rate Top Boy seasons 3 and 4 as much as I rated the early seasons 1 and 2. So that's one of the main reasons why I say Power is overall a better show. And Power did get worse as well. The last season of Power wasn't great, and Power was also brilliant in seasons 1 to 3. After that, it got gradually worse, but Top Boy got more worse, I would say. That's what I would say. Top Boy's still a good show right now. It's still good, but it's definitely significantly worse than it was early on. But now let's talk about Snowfall. Snowfall is very different to both shows. Snowfall is also, would I say it's as gritty as Top Boy? I don't know, but it's based in the 80s. Obviously, it's being filmed and recorded now, but it's based in the 80s during the because in the 80s in America there was a I believe there was a crack epidemic, something like that, and so it's kind of, the show is kind of focused and centered around that. And the main character, Franklin Saint, he ends up being this big crack drug dealer, and he's made multi millions. But later on in the seasons, he ends up also having these legit side businesses, similar to Ghost, who also had legit side businesses as well in Power. But Snowfall, I would say, is, out of all 3 shows, I think Snowfall is the most realistic, I would say, mainly because you could also argue that it's easier to make it more realistic, as in, for example, it's easier to make Franklin get away with all these crimes, because in the 80s it was easier to get away with certain crimes back then, because there was less surveillance, there wasn't much cameras on the streets and CCTV and all of that, so it's easier to get away with killings and murders and stuff like that. Whereas Top Boy and Power, they're not filmed in the 80s, so seeing Ghost get away with these crimes, seeing Tommy commit crimes in broad daylight, like when he killed Spanky and got away with it, especially towards season 5 and 6, Power and Top Boy, but specifically Power I want to talk about, it got so unrealistic. How is Tommy killing Spanky in broad daylight and he gets away with it? That was just too unrealistic. And yeah, and in terms of Top Boy, something that was unrealistic in that, we see Dushane killing the Jamaican guy, I forgot his name. That Jamaican guy in season 3, he killed him in a car where there was like bare people walking around in the street. It wasn't even a quiet street, and he shoots him and then he walks away and no one hears the gunshot. Everyone's just carrying on with the day. Again, very unrealistic. So Top Boy and Power have more unrealistic moments than Snowfall, I would say. But with Snowfall, you see the struggles and the things, and you see Franklin's evolution. You do also see Dushane's evolution and Ghost's evolution in Top Boy and Power, respectively. But I really like Franklin's evolution, because at first Franklin, he didn't want to really kill people. He always said Leon to go do that. Leon is Franklin's right hand man, and yeah, Franklin wasn't really on the killing and all that stuff, but over time he realized that it's something that he had to do, and he became more and more desensitized to the murders, to the killing. And we saw him actually pulling the trigger more. His trigger finger got a lot more itchy. He was more willing to do that rather than just delegating that role to Leon. And Leon, he was always about that, but after he killed that little girl, it became a thing where Leon kind of wanted out of the game, but Franklin said no, because Franklin, he's a tremendous leader and he took a lot of sacrifices to protect Leon. He made a big sacrifice, And Aunt Louie actually was telling him, oh, kill, I think we should just give Leon up, because we're not going to survive a war with Manboy and Scully, because Manboy wanted Leon dead, and that they all wanted Leon dead because they knew that Leon killed Khadijah, who's Manboy's sister, killed Khadijah's daughter, so by accident. So yeah, they all wanted him dead, but Franklin said, no, Leon's my boy, I'm not going to do that. So he took a big risk to protect Leon, and Aunt Louie got shot because of that, because they wanted Leon dead. Aunt Louie got shot. I think that's the reason Aunt Louie got shot, or it might have been because of another reason. But yeah, Snowfall overall is a brilliant show. I don't want to go too much into the storylines about Snowfall, not in too much detail, so I'll just kind of leave it at that. If you haven't seen the recent season of Snowfall, you have to watch that. It's been a brilliant season. You see a lot more arguments and rift and disagreements between Aunt Louie and Franklin, so which I might go into that in a separate video, Aunt Louie and Franklin, in terms of who I think is right and all that. But yeah, Snowfall is also a brilliant show, and in terms of how it compares to Top Boy and Power, I actually prefer Top Boy and Power to Snowfall. Even though Snowfall you could argue is a bit more realistic, I actually prefer Top Boy and Power. To me, the writing is a bit more, well, I don't know what's the word, but I say creative, interesting, I don't know. But there's something about Top Boy and Power that I just prefer more than Snowfall. But nothing taken away from Snowfall. Snowfall's a great show as well. But yeah, I say it's hard to compare Top Boy to Snowfall. They're extremely different. But you can compare Top Boy and Power more, especially with Dushane and Ghost, both calculated, both strategic, and Sully and Tommy, both are often irrational, both emotional, both get angry very easily, let their rage get to them, they both struggle to control their temper, so on and so forth. And they both have loyal characters. Jack is very loyal to Dushane in Top Boy, and we see Julio, for example, extremely loyal to Tommy, and Roller was very loyal to Ghost. But the difference is that in Power, the loyal characters tend to die, especially relatively early, whereas in Top Boy, we haven't seen that many loyal characters die yet. Jack's still alive, and I'm trying to think who else is really loyal. Jack's probably the most loyal, I would say, but yeah, she's still alive. She hasn't come close to dying yet. So I wonder if Top Boy's gonna also gonna kill off the loyal characters like how Power does. But we'll see. But like I said, another common trend as well is that the people that work for the Connect tend to kill the Connect, just like how Ghost killed Lobos and Milan, and we saw Dushane kill Rakes. But Dushane hasn't killed Lizzie yet though, or anything like that. But yeah, both shows have similarities. But that's it for this video. Just wanted to speak about how Top Boy, how just comparing it to shows that are similar, is competition, etc. But yeah, and until next time.